know that feeling, right? A friend is really hurting, and you want to help. But what if the things we say, even with the best intentions, end up making everything so much worse? We're going to dig into that today with a really old story that honestly feels like it could have happened last week. So, yeah, someone you care about is going through something just awful, and you're totally at a loss. I mean, what do you even say? But here's the kicker. What happens when what you think is the right thing to say is actually the absolute worst thing you could say? Let's unpack that.
Okay, so our story is all about this guy named Job, and from everything we're told, he was a really good dude, a righteous man. But then, the absolute unimaginable happens. He loses it all. I mean, everything. And right when he's at his lowest, 3 of his friends show up, supposedly to comfort him. And for a full 7 days, they do something amazing. They just sit there with him, in total silence. They don't offer advice. They don't try to explain it. They just share his pain. And you know what? That might have been the best thing they could have possibly done. But then, the silence gets broken. One of the friends decides it's time to talk, to offer some advice. And that's the exact moment their comfort starts to become cruelty. All right, so the first one to speak up is a guy named Eliphaz. And you can just tell he's a problem solver. He looks at Job's unimaginable suffering and doesn't see a tragedy to share. He sees a problem to be solved. He's going to try and explain it all, to cram all this messy, awful pain into a neat little box using what everyone kind of believed at the time. So check out how he builds his argument. It's almost sneaky how logical it sounds at first. Step 1, God is just. Okay, sure. Step 2, justice means the bad guys get punished. Yeah, that makes sense, right? But then, oh boy, then he takes this huge, devastating leap. Step 3, therefore, Job, because you're suffering so much, you must be wicked. And just like that, in 3 easy steps, he's turned his comfort into a straight-up accusation. And this right here, this is the heart of his whole argument. He hits Job with this killer rhetorical question. He's basically saying, come on, Job, think about it. When has an innocent person ever been destroyed? He's not just floating an idea here. He's laying it down like it's a law of the universe. But hold on a second. Let's actually think about that question. Is it true? Do bad things really only happen to bad people? Do the innocent never ever suffer? Well, the source material gives us a pretty clear answer on that one. And the answer is a huge, resounding no. I mean, the source material itself completely takes this argument apart. Just think about it for a second. Abel, murdered by his own brother. Jesus, crucified. The apostles, martyred. History is absolutely full of good, upright people who suffered horribly. So Eliphaz's big universal truth? It's not just a little flawed. It's completely provably wrong. And to top it all off, to really seal the deal, Eliphaz claims he got this from a mystical night vision. He's basically pulling the God told me card. Hey, this isn't just my opinion. This came from on high. It's a classic move, right? A way to shut down any argument. But here's the thing. A bad idea, even if you say it came from a divine vision, is still just a bad idea. So, how do you think all this so-called comfort is landing with Job? Let's not forget, the man is literally sitting in the ashes of his life. He doesn't need a theology lecture. He certainly doesn't need to be judged. He just needs a friend. And that is absolutely not what he's getting. What's so heartbreaking is that at first, Job is completely open to it. He basically says, look, teach me. If I've messed up somewhere, just show me where and I'll be quiet. He's looking for understanding, for answers, not a guilty verdict. But a guilty verdict is all his friends seem to have for him. And this right here just lays out the massive disconnect perfectly. Job was hoping for a little empathy. He got an accusation. He desperately needed comfort. He got judgment. All he wanted was someone to be there with him, solidarity. Instead, he got a bunch of theories about why he deserved all this. Job comes up with this incredible metaphor to explain how let down he feels. He says his friends are like a desert oasis. Imagine you're a traveler, dying of thirst, and you've been counting on this water to save you. You finally get there, and it's completely dried up. That's the kind of deep, painful betrayal he's feeling from their empty words. So as you can probably guess, all this helpful advice doesn't help at all. In fact, it does the opposite. It just pushes Job deeper and deeper into despair. And it's a level of despair that can be pretty shocking to hear, especially from someone we know has such deep faith. Yeah, he gets to a point of just pure agony.
He actually cries out to God that he hates his life and just wants it to be over. The pain is so intense, so all-consuming, that death starts to look like a welcome escape. And let's be real for a second. That is tough to hear. When someone who is known for their faith says they want to die, it can feel wrong, like a contradiction. We might think, wait, shouldn't their faith, sustain them? But is that really fair? And is Job the only one who's ever felt this way? Well, it turns out he's in pretty good company. The source makes it crystal clear he's not alone. We're talking about giants of faith here: Moses, Elijah, Jeremiah. They all hit a point where things were so bad, they asked God to just take them. And this is so important. This kind of despair isn't some failure of faith. It's a very, very human reaction to just unbearable suffering. So after all that pain and all that bad advice, what are we supposed to take away from this? Well, this is where the story pivots and gives us this incredible lesson, one that is just as true today as it was thousands of years ago, about what it really means to comfort someone. It really all boils down to this: Eliphaz's goal, to be right, to have an answer for something that has no easy answer. But Job's need, he didn't need an answer, he just needed to be comforted. Eliphaz was trying to explain the suffering away when all Job needed was for someone to help him carry it. And in the end, the story's verdict is absolutely unmistakable. God himself shows up and speaks directly to Eliphaz and totally rejects his wise advice. He's actually told off for making Job's pain worse. It's the ultimate confirmation that even with good intentions, you can end up being cruel. So this ancient epic story leaves us with a question that feels incredibly relevant today. When we're trying to comfort someone, what's our actual goal? Is it to solve their problem, to be correct? Or is it to do something that's maybe harder but so much more meaningful, which is to just help them share the burden? Because that choice, right there, can make all the difference in the world.